In today's episode of Gardening 101, we started off by looking at cycads and why they're so precious to the gardening world. And now we join Linda at their inner city farm to find out more about growing asparagus.
There is nothing more fantastic than being able to pick your fresh asparagus spears in spring and summer. They honestly don't taste anything like the store-bought ones, and they are sweet and delicious. Most people don't know how to grow them, and they are so easy to grow. So firstly, asparagus needs quite a lot of space. So prepare your beds and make sure you give each plant about 90 centimeters to grow and develop. They do take a long time before you can actually harvest them. You can only start harvesting in the 4th year, but it's so worth it because 15 years later, you're still going to get delicious asparagus spears. As always, soil is the most important thing, and since the plant will be staying in one place for many, many years, prepare your soil beforehand. So in the winter, it's a good idea to put a lot of organic compost, some well-rotted manure, and then you plant your plant in late spring. Because it likes to be in full sun, they grow so well in full sun, but they can tolerate just a little bit of shade. Asparagus don't like to have wet feet, so it's important to have good, well-drained soil. If you want to plant it in raised beds, it will give you that well-drained soil, but if you only have flat garden beds, that's okay. You just mound up the earth and have that drain all the water away from the asparagus when they are growing. The wonderful thing about asparagus is once you start harvesting in the 4th year, you can continue harvesting daily because they literally grow overnight, and you don't want to leave them and let them get woody. As you can see, the little plant in its 1st year is really, really thin. This is actually an asparagus that has come out the ground, which looks exactly like this. When you actually see the asparagus coming out of the ground, that is what it looks like. This one is in its 4th year, and they literally grow overnight. You'll get much more poking their heads out the ground, but in the 1st year, they are really, really thin and delicate. As the plant grows, you'll see that the top of the asparagus starts to create fronds. That's how the fronds start to develop, and the plant can grow quite tall, up to about 1.2 meters. The fronds are really fluffy and dainty. Asparagus is a perennial, and in the case of asparagus, what that means is the plant will die back completely in the winter and then resurrect itself again in the spring and summer months, giving you a brand new crop. When the plant dies back in winter and you've cut down the stalks, remember to add lots of dried leaves as a good mulch to protect the soil. That's really important. You don't want to disturb the area where your asparagus is growing. So I'm going to show you now how to harvest an asparagus. It's a little bit of a skill and it's a lot of fun. So come with me and I'll show you how it's done. As the asparagus grows, every year the root system develops and gets stronger and stronger, and so you will get more shoots coming out of the ground. As you can see over here, we've already got quite a few shoots that have come out the ground, and that is only from one plant. You'll also see a small little plant that has just started to grow and the fronds are starting to develop, but what we're going to do now is harvest this spear, which is quite large, but I promise you it will still be delicious. You'll find that asparagus actually has a weak point. So if you wiggle the spear, it can loosen it up and break it at the weak point, which is just under the surface of the soil. But because the spear is quite large already, I'm going to cut it 4 centimeters from the surface of the soil. Wow, look at that. I'm going to cut this up and have it in my salad for lunch. I can't wait. It's really so simple to start off your own asparagus plant, and yes, you can start off in a pot. So what I have here is a 12 centimeter pot, and I'm going to show you how easy it is to plant your asparagus seed. I always just use one seed, which is ample, and when the plant is about 20 centimeters tall, I then plant it in my freshly prepared bed. It's really important to have a good quality seed, so start off there. Right, so we filled our pot with a good germination mix, which we have covered in one of our past episodes. We used the exact same recipe, and I filled it right near to the surface of the pot. I'd never push the soil down at all. So I just make a 1 centimeter hole, the tip of my finger. There you go. And I put 1 seed in. So I want to show you what these seeds look like. They're about 3 millimeters big, possibly bigger, about 4 millimeters. And they're not a large seed, so you don't want to bury them and make the hole bigger than 1 centimeter. I'm going to pop one in. There you go. Cover it up. Remember, always label your pots and your trays and put the date on. That's very valuable. And water it. So you need to have the water dripping out at the bottom of the pot. And now I'm going to put this in a warm, sunny spot. Remember that you can never let your pots or your trays dry out completely, so check them daily and give them water. It's great using this little nozzle because it doesn't dislodge the seeds, gives it a fine rose spray, and that's what you want. It really does take a long time before you can harvest your first crop, which is the 4th year, but I promise you it's worth the wait.
After the break, Michael Rickhoff is back with the last step in designing a garden. He'll share the final touches that will bring life to his formal and informal garden designs.